Welcome to the Deal Champs podcast. Sleepy Dean is asleep at the wheel again, and he could not make it on time. We gave him almost 15 minutes to be here on time. Who knows what Sleepy Dean is doing, but he's not here. Hopefully,
all of a
he
sudden,
shows
bro,
up in a
goes
timely
to
manner.
Europe for 1 month, missing his
Bro.
meeting, missing the podcast.
Goes to
Must be
Europe
nice,
1
bro.
month, loses all mental fortitude, loses all track of time, has no
longer
sense of
punctual.
urgency in his life. Like,
What is
it's
going on,
fucking
bro?
bananas, bro. It's
I
insane.
can't believe it.
But I am your co-host, Strat Daddy. Little background around me. I got started in real estate, I want to say like 5 or 6 years ago. We owned some self-storage. We scaled multiple companies to 7 figures. Right now, I'm doing a challenge that is 0 to $1 million net in 6 months. It has been an absolute grind. I am documenting the whole thing on Facebook and YouTube. So if you want to learn what it takes and what it looks like to grow a company that I think is a pretty sizable and profitable company, you'll want to tune in. We have the master of hair with his hair out, Mr. Jason Pritchard.
Hair is out. I'm all dressed up. I got a meeting to go right after this, dude. So I got extra fresh for this meeting, man. Thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate everybody tuning in on IG live stream. I see you guys calling in right now. I'm your other co-host of the Deal Champs podcast. My name is Jason Pritchard. Backstory on me is I worked in corporate America for 15 years, hated my job, was unhappy with my life. I burned all the boats in 2014 and started investing in real estate full time and have not looked back since. Since then, in the last 10 years, we've flipped 400 plus houses. We own a rental portfolio of just north of 100 units, mainly here in Central California. And our goal, as always with this pod, is to transfer as many of the things that we've learned, all the learning lessons, the skills, the knowledge to all you guys tuning in so you can learn from our mistakes and get to where you want to go, achieve your goals faster.
All right, let me get this into this last Facebook group. Why don't you announce the first topic?
All right. So this should be an interesting one today, guys. We're trying to mix up our topics of discussion and just create a little bit more engagement and excitement from you guys. And so we want to talk about things that we're seeing trending and kind of creating a little buzz in the real estate world. And so one of the things that we're going to talk about first off today is what you guys would do with your first $20,000. So let's say you've saved up $20,000 in cash. It's there in your bank account, ready to go. And is it more beneficial for you to invest in the stock market or into your first rental property? So we're going to talk about that, unpack that today, along with a bunch of other stuff. So if you guys have thoughts, ideas, questions, comments, drop them below in the chat. We're following along, and we would love to get some engagement and answer some questions for you guys.
You want to take your take first?
Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously we're real estate guys. I'm a real estate guy. So I think it's not a surprise, dude, what my answer is going to be, but there's lots of different ways that you can go with this thing. But if I had $20,000 in cash saved up, real estate investing is my vehicle of choice, man. I feel like it's the investment vehicle that is made for your average everyday person. You know, I like to speak to the version of Jason that was 10 years ago, just getting started. And for me, the benefit of the stock market, pros and cons, is it's kind of like a set it and forget it type thing. You're just funneling your money in there. It's easy. It's passive. You don't need to worry about anything. And if that's what you're looking for, then that may be something that's better for you. But I would definitely pick real estate as my option. If I had my first 20K, I'd probably do some type of house hack or short-term rental option or something just to get my foot in the game, buy a house, live in it for a little bit, rent it out, something like that. That would be where I would put my first 20K. And then we can kind of get into the ins and outs of that and the why as we go, I guess.
All right. So it's not going to be the stock market. I'm reading. Have you read this book yet?
No, I haven't.
Investor?
I'll add it to my list.
It's like half the size of my fucking face. It's for sure not going to be the stock market. Like, like all of the shit that is going on in this book, and it's like dense. And so I'm going to say, number one, I think the stock market is kind of a fallacy, just like everything else. It's not really as set it and forget it as you think. If you want to actually make good money, if you think you can just put in the S&P 500, that's one thing. I don't think it should be real estate either. I am a big believer in buying skills. I lucked out and I worked for Alan Folio for 1.5 to 2 years. The amount of credibility and skills that I got from that was absolutely unmatched, and I couldn't have invested in anything at that point in time besides paying for a course with that 20 grand to learn how to do what I'm doing. I think you should take all of that 20 grand and half of it should go into educating yourself on how to do something in real estate. You shouldn't even put it in any fucking real estate. You're not going to get any good return off of 20 grand. We talked about this all the time. You think you're going to make 100 grand off of 20 grand. We're not selling fucking Coke.
That's not going to happen, dude. Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
You're not going to flip that 20. And that's the problem when you have, and I understand, dude, when you're young or you worked really hard to stack up 20K, you want to make a whatever return on that thing. And it doesn't work like that. 10% annualized return on $20,000. You guys do the math. You're making a couple grand every single year. So you're not doubling, tripling, or 5Xing that money. Right. And so Strat is not wrong. I think you deviated from the question. I thought it was an either or question. So you threw in a little curveball here. But I think it's fine. I think it's good.
Rand.
You did.
I think that's the best one.
Curveball's fine, dude. And you're not wrong. And for those of you guys that just tuned in, the question is, with your first 20K stock market real estate, Strat deviated and said he believes in investing in yourself and developing a high income skill is what I've heard it referred to, right? I think that's the term that's being thrown around a lot. And I think that's 100% right. You need to learn how to actually become the kind of person that can take that 20K and then at some point turn it into 50 or 100, right? But I'm going to stick with my answer. I'll say real estate. And here's why. This is the biggest reason why I personally like the idea of real estate as the first investment versus just putting that 20K into a mutual fund or into the S&P. Okay. And the reason why real estate is my vehicle of choice is because we have the opportunity to access debt. We can leverage that 20K and we can control an asset that's worth $200,000 or $250,000 or a little bit more by using that $20,000 as a down payment to get into that property. And so a lot of the things that I hear or I see is like, hey, a $200,000 investment into real estate 20 years ago versus a $200,000 investment into the S&P. S&P returns more, but most people don't have
no one's holding for that
grand
long,
just
bro.
Fucking lying around in their bank account, bro. So it's not an apples to apples comparison. So the biggest reason why I like the idea of doing real estate versus just the stock market in general is because we can control through leverage and debt a more expensive asset with that $20,000. $20,000 in the stock market buys you $20,000 of a particular stock or shares of a mutual fund. That's it. 20K in real estate, you can control a $250,000 asset. And that's the biggest reason why I like it. And then we'll get into some more stuff with this appreciation, cash flow. There's other things to get into there.
So number one, when it comes to the stock market, everyone who says like, oh, if you would have bought Tesla back and then you'd make all this money. Nobody fucking holds it that long. Nobody holds the stock that long. The only people who hodl are the Bitcoin maximists, I would say. Like the Bitcoin whales are the dudes who've held things for a long period of time. But nobody knew what Apple was going to be when it first came out. No one. Everyone was like, oh, if you'd have bought Apple in 2001, bro, you'd be worth X amount of dollars. You know how much you'd have to be so mentally strong just to hold it over that period of time in order to make that return. And then I would say real estate does have the benefit of not going to absolutely zero. The stock market still have things and companies go out of business, right? Companies have lifespans of, say, it's 40 to 100 years, like a great company. But these internet companies, bro, everything is coming in so fast. They could be out of business in 10 years. They could just not have innovated fast enough and it's gone. You don't get any returns. And let alone some random virus happens in China and the stock market decides to crash. Or some airplanes decide to hit 2 towers in America and the stock market crashes. You have no control over that asset. And now you're screwed. And that money is essentially gone. And yeah, you don't have to sell it, but it makes it, you think about it a lot different psychologically.
It's the psychological aspect is so much different when it's your first 20K. And then let's say it went up, that stock went up. Now you're in it for $25,000. You're going to 9 times out of 10, 90% of people, I think they're going to sell and pull that 20. Nobody's holding it long-term, dude. The people that hold long-term are seasoned, have patience, have disposable income that's there. If that 20K is the only 20K that you have, most people are going to see that gain. They're going to pull it out and they're not going to ride and just hang on for the rest of their lives, dude. And so I think the psychology behind it makes a ton of sense. I think you're almost forced to when you buy a piece of real estate, even though it's, not completely illiquid. You can't make rash decisions like that, dude. So once you're in it, you're kind of in it. It's an illiquid asset. So you can access the equity and the cash that you have in it at some point, but it's going to take a little while. And tons of comments on my IG, dude.
There's some people, bro, who say, well, you can get better returns in the stock market. And I would say that is when you are actively trading stocks on a consistent basis. And that is how you'd make better returns. And I'd say the same thing for real estate. You're not going to make any money in real estate for 10 to 20 years. The ones who do make money are actively trading real estate on a consistent basis. No different than the same way you look at a stock. You're looking at it. What's the value? What can we do to bring this value in? What waves are we riding? So the same thing goes for your real estate stuff. I would say, oh, guess who decided to show the fuck up? Sleepy Dean. Sleepy Dean decided to hop in the chat, guys. All right, in the comments, 22 minutes late. Should we let Sleepy Dean in here before we let Mr. Sleepy Dean? He's no longer Captain America. He's lost that title. Hop in. Let's see if we should let him hop in.
We need a consensus in my IG. Dean's in the lobby right now. You guys can't see him. If you guys think we should let Dean into the pod to contribute towards this conversation, even though he showed up 23 minutes late, let us know. Drop a comment here. Late. Let us know if we let Dean in.
And we've had multiple conversations about moving back the pod for Dean.
Yep.
No big deal. No big deal. But I think anyone, I would say real estate house hacking, like for someone who just has a 9-to-5 job. I was talking to Cletus today. He was like, bro, we bought 3 different Lennar homes. We buy them and we wait in them for 5 years. We sell them. We get no capital gains. We get a huge come up and then we just go do it again. I think that's the easiest way to get into real estate, make good money, or you could just refinance it instead of selling it and turn the other one into a rental.
That model is right for the vast majority of people, bro. I really genuinely believe, only a handful of people are going to become active real estate investors and start doing some of the things that we're doing. But a lot of people, if they have fiscal discipline and their personal financial house is in order, they can, over the course of a year or 18 or 24 months, they can stack 20 grand, bro. That's not impossible at all. Like, I think when you tell yourself that you can't do that, you have a spending problem, right? And you need to get that stuff under control. But if you can do that, you can save up a down payment realistically, I think, every 24 months. And guess what happens every 24 months? Usually your FHA eligibility, your ability to qualify for that 3.5 to 5% down owner occupied loan, it will reset. And then guess what? That house that you bought, that you lived in for a couple years, you make that a rental, then you go move into the other house. And then you rinse and repeat that process over and over and over again. And in 10 years, you got 6-8 properties, dude. And if you start doing it with multifamily, you can pick up 15 or 20 units, man. So I like that model way more. I think we should let Dean in. There he is.
Guys, welcome to the show. Mr. Sleepy Dean Rogers.
In the penalty box in hockey, dude. You come in, we got.
All right, guys. Now we get started. Now that I'm here,
all right,
the show really started. I feel bad, guys. Sorry, I was onboarding a student. It took a little longer than I was thinking.
Bro, just move back the pod, Dean. Just move back the pod.
We have talked about this. It's only happened a couple times. Okay, the first time was definitely it was
the same situation, bro.
It was the same situation. I was in Switzerland at like 1 a.m. onboarding a student, and then we had the podcast. So my bad, but no, I'm excited to be here and talk about this topic today.
All right, what do you think?
Let's jump into it, dude. Where are you at on this thing? We've been going back and forth for a little bit. First 20K. First 20K. Stocks or real estate? What say you?
I can speak from my own personal experience. Here's the thing, okay? If we're going to talk about how to leverage money to get the biggest return on your investment, right? Whether it be time or physical money invested. When it comes to stocks, you have to invest money. Like, you're not in the game without money invested. You can't just show up and add value and create a deal and put a deal together. You have to show up and invest money into the right stock at the right time. And a lot of times, for the most part, you have to it takes time for you to get that return. And if you take the returns from that, most of the time you're getting taxed right then and there, whether you like it
No
or
matter
not.
what.
There's no deferring those taxes. So just from like a 10,000 foot view, that's my perspective on stocks. Now, has it made a significant amount of people in the world wealthy? It has. It's made them rich. I don't know if wealthy is the right word, but I'd say rich. And a lot of it is just by picking the right stock. Now, if you listen to the Warren Buffetts of the world, there's only one way to do it to him. It's with the right due diligence and the right, thought and knowing what you're investing in. You're investing in the company. You're not investing in the hot topic or the hot pick of the week. You're investing in the company and what their actual performance is and the direction they're going, the people that are running the company. That's the right way to invest in stocks. But if we're talking about our first $20,000, man, how do you grow that substantially enough with stocks? I don't know how to quite get it to get that exponential growth as you can from my experience with real estate. And for me, with real estate, I think that not only can you get a substantially higher return on your investment, I think that you can quote unquote get an infinite return. We can go on rants right now about how myself and you guys included buy properties using other people's money and then refinance those properties to hold them long-term investments that are assets that we own, that we get the tax benefits and depreciation from, and lower the taxes or have no taxes, and have had no money in the deal, literally $0 in that deal when we refinance it and have that long-term financing. That is an infinite return. Okay. So to me, I don't think that's possible at all to any extent in the stock game. And so if I'm thinking, where am I going to invest my first $20,000? I feel stocks is risky. I feel real estate has the opportunity that I'm looking for. And that's the direction I went. And I can say I was rubbing two pennies together, not even two nickels. I was rubbing two pennies together when I first got started. And it was just by taking the knowledge I had and finding opportunities and putting it together that allowed me to get in the game. And then once I reinvested some of that money back in, I was able to grow it faster.
I will say you can do it with stocks. There's a dude I look up to named Bill Ackman. And Bill Ackman's been like a stock guy since he came out of college. But when you go into the stock market, you are going up against some of the best minds in the world at all times. And you have to make better decisions than fucking Ray Dalio. Legitimately, you have to make better decisions than Ray Dalio and Bill Ackman. And yes, you can do it with no money. You can go out and raise money, start a fund and trade on it and get leverage on it and everything else and get these infinite returns. But I think the odds of you being an exceptional human with high horsepower are very, very low. If you were that person, odds are you would have known as a child, right? I feel like we'd all know people who went to those Ivy League schools who had those types of horsepower, who could make those types of decisions. Shamus.
It goes back to the point that I was making, dude. I feel like the real estate investing is the vehicle for your everyday person to get rich. I really genuinely believe that, bro, because I don't know, like, I think we would all say this, like, we're relatively smart, we're hardworking, but we're not like the smartest guys in the world. We're not like some freaking geniuses or like Harvard Business School, MBA, any of that stuff, dude.
Yeah.
I always say this, dude, with real estate, if you can add, subtract, divide, multiply, and you're not afraid to talk to people, I genuinely believe that you can make money. If you can do those things, dude, that's it. And I don't need to understand the algorithm behind why this thing is working. And I don't need to read all these complex financial statements and business things in order to make decisions on the companies that I want to invest in, right? I don't need to have an MBA in order to even like get into it. We can start doing that right now. And I love the idea about like empowering just your average everyday person to go out and really change the trajectory of their life, dude. And I think 100%, it's not even close. Real estate is the vehicle that can do that.
Dude, you guys both said it, which as I went on about my points and my perspective, I didn't touch on this topic. When it comes to the stock market game, I 100% wholeheartedly believe that the game, and I don't think you can even argue the opposite, is completely rigged.
100%, bro.
If you look at the stocks, right? Okay. Back in my corporate days, I would regularly look at the stocks to see what the stocks I had were doing and what the value of it was. When I would look at the stocks and look at the tickers and see all the companies, when the stocks were up, you could look across similar companies in an entire like industry, and almost all of the charts looked exactly the same.
Oh,
In
you got to
one
get
given
deep,
day.
bro. If you're gonna pick them, like you got to do research. If you're gonna pick them and like win.
Well, dude, you would look in a given day. What I'm saying is you would look at the stocks. Oh, the stocks are up, blah, blah, blah is happening. Almost all the stocks would look exactly the same. Oh, the stocks are down. Almost all the stocks for the different companies their charts would almost all look the same. It's because the big, massive hedge funds are pulling the triggers and moving the levers however the heck they want on a daily basis at such a micro level, at the same time at a macro level, to be able to move it however they want and get the rips and the gains that they're looking to get within a given day. So to me, as a little man coming into the game, a tiny, minuscule fish, I'm not even scratching the surface. And to try to play in that game where they're moving the lever, and it's not even really about how the company's performing, it's just how they want the market to react, is as a scary game I don't want to play with.
This is my last point on this topic. Shout out Roaring Kitty, aka Deep Fucking Value. Did you guys see this? Did you see his story?
I saw it on Netflix, right?
You're muted, Jason.
I said I saw the movie on Netflix and then I paid a little bit closer attention to it. It's pretty amazing, dude. I saw him just come out like a week or two ago. And then he moved the market, and his position is now like approaching damn near $1 billion.
Yeah, damn near $1 billion.
That is fucking wild. Good for him. Balls of steel on that guy, dude.
That's an everyday man.
I would have exited a long time ago. Good for that guy.
Right.
And I wanted to tie it all together. You cannot make money without other people. He did this and moved the market because he controlled that Reddit group. You cannot do anything worth doing without others and leading others and having some type of leverage. It's the ultimate form of leverage, is that he had that Reddit group and he took down one of the largest hedge funds in the world. What's going on, Tom? Bam.
Bam, baby.
Hey, hold on.
Let's go.
Shout out to Tom.
That bell's from you, Tom.
Your noise cancellation is so good that it canceled the noise out.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, damn. Tom, I just rang the bell you sent me, dude.
Yeah. That's a great gift.
You guys ready for the next topic?
Let's roll.
Let's hit it.
Next topic. Problem of the week. We got that in there. We want to throw this here in the middle real quick.
Sure.
Dino, did we want to hit on your problem or did we want to save that? I think that's another topic altogether.
I want to save it. I was literally on the phone for an hour this morning with that problem and resolving it. I can't wait to share it. God willing, the deal goes through and closes this week. It's a monster deal. So I'm not going to touch on it. But yeah.
Okay. You want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first.
All right. So I let go of another sales rep today. The first one couldn't make it commission only. The other guy, I told him, hey, bro, we got to work weekends. He didn't respond on the weekend, didn't talk to any of the new leads. And then on Monday, he was like, hey, I have a family event all day that I want to do. And so he came in today. I was like, hey, bro, we're probably not the best fit for you. Because at any point in time, and this is for all young men, if you tell me you want to make money, there should be nothing else you should be doing besides being on the phone from dusk until dawn. The family does not matter, especially if you do not have children. Nothing else matters. All these events will come back again, and you should be pounding the phone until your bank account reflects something that you are happy with. That's the end of my rant. But I would say the problem we had is I had to let go of 2 reps, and I got to hire 2 more.
So here's my feedback for you. Do you think it's a problem with the guys, or do you think it's a problem with how you onboarded them and set expectations with them?
Expectations were correct. One of the guys was iffy on if he could make like commission only. And then he just called me. He was like, hey, bro, I can't make this. I can't wait 30 days. I got to make it happen, which is fine.
Commission only is tough for me.
Bro, eat what you feel is it's not for the faint of heart, dude. It's not
tough.
Not for the faint of heart.
And Steve says only eat what you kill. I was talking to him today. He was like, only commission only.
There's
a
different perspectives on
$2,000
this.
draw. Here's his perspective. He was like a $2,000 draw versus no draw. A $2,000 draw is not going to give you anybody of any inherent value over someone with no draw. The type of person that you would bring in at a $2,000 draw isn't any different. If you were going to do a $10,000 draw, now you get significantly better talent. But if it's not going to be that, you're wasting your time. You might as well go commission only and develop your people. That was his philosophy.
That's tough. From my perspective, I think that if you're coming in and saying you're going to just be eating top ramen until you kill something, and then this deal's got to close, it could be 30 days, it could be however long. It's also reliant on how I'm setting them up for success.
Mhm.
And they don't know what that looks like. And they might not understand unless they were in the exact same position of the exact same job. They might not know what it looks like. There's a ramp up, there's a learning process. I feel like there's got to be more ramp time for them to be able to come into that position and start performing the right way. And I know from my own experience that I've had to grow a lot to be the right type of leader to help
100%.
provide the support someone needs, even that's experience, right? And ongoing support and training. I mean, it takes the right type of leader to lead someone and put them in the best position to perform the way you need to. So I think for one, I learned and disagree with the eat what you kill. I think there has to be a draw. And I didn't know what I didn't know when I was getting started hiring people. And I was kind of on the fence too. I ended up giving a salary and made that decision from the beginning. And I'm glad that I did. And I think there's perspectives and good reasons why either way. But I think there needs to be a base salary to pay the bills, to give some sort of level of comfort for paying for basic needs, and allow them to focus on not paying this next bill, but focus on getting the deal done.
And I think that's fair. Jason, Dean, what do you guys pay your reps base?
We're commission only.
You're commission only?
Yep.
Okay, fair enough.
Now, let me do a caveat on mine. Okay. So one of the things I agree 100% with what Dean said. If you're going to go commission only, there have to be lots of reasons to keep that new employee and that new hire stuck to your company for a long enough runway to get them to the point where they can start making some dough. So the culture is very important. The training is very important. The amount of time that you're investing into that person as a leader so they can feel like, hey, I actually have a shot at getting to this space where I can make some money. Without all of those things there, if it's legitimately just sink or swim and you're not talking about like a seasoned person with experience that's going to hit the ground running right out of the gate, you're probably setting yourself up for failure. So I agree with that. And I think there may be other ways to kind of incentivize them. We're talking about real estate. So I have people on my team in acquisitions roles that are licensed, right? And if I see that they're doing a good job, they're hitting their metrics and they're still a little bit further away from getting to like where they want to be income wise, I can maybe offer some spot incentives, either through the form of commissions or a listing opportunity here where we can pay the bills. They can feel rewarded. They can feel like I care about them and I'm investing into them financially until we get to the point where they ramp up. Because it's not, you just turn the faucet on and the money starts pouring out, dude. I think if you're brand new as a rep, you're probably 60, 90 days potentially before you start seeing any of the fruits of your labor kind of pay off. And so you got to give them a long enough runway to get there, dude.
And so here's what I did. We're all inbound leads. So everything is PPC leads. So I know the cash conversion will be shorter.
Yeah.
They get ample leads. We do 2 sales training calls a day, and I only hired experienced people because I knew, like, bro, I don't have time to ramp up someone accordingly in the challenge. Right. And so that's what it was. My biggest thing was like, hey, bro, I just don't think you have necessarily like the want for it that we're looking for. Yeah. The other guy that was commission only, I 100% get it, bro. If you need cash, and he worked at another company beforehand, and so he knew what the time horizon would look like for him to get paid. So that's what it was. And so I thought this would be a good problem of the week. What happened? Onboarding and setting expectations could always get better. I would say, I don't know. As far as like the deciding to go to a family event on a Monday in your first 2 weeks at work, I would say no matter if you're commissioned or not commissioned or anything, that's going to be a no for me, bro. That's going to be a no for me. It's just, you don't.
Yeah, it kind of depends on the family event. If I'm new and I'm trying to make a really good first impression, unless it's like my dad died or something like that, and it's
It was
you know what I
it
mean?
was
Like
nothing like that.
then there's a line obviously somewhere. But if it's like you're really there and you're trying to show, it's like sometimes you're going to have to miss. And I know that's going to lead into probably one of the things that we're going to talk about work-life balance and how to do all that stuff. But at the beginning, dude, you've got to do whatever you need to do at the beginning. So you got to figure it out.
So Strat, as you're going through the challenge, you've now gotten rid of 2 reps. How are you? I mean, you had to go through some sort of decision-making process to say, look, if I keep these guys, they're going to be taking calls. They're going to get some deals. Is it worth keeping them on versus having to basically ramp up again some new people? How did you go through deciding that? Because that's tough. Because like there's always going to be like a point in time where you could have better talent, but you probably came up against like these people just aren't going to work. Period.
To me, it's culture at all costs, and like that's just not the culture of a killer and the mentality of a killer that I'm looking for. And that kind of is like what did it for me. As far as like, this isn't the standard that we're setting. One of our standards is like sports team mentality, right? Like we are the Alabama of what we are trying to do.
So as you were interviewing, were you able, do you feel like now hindsight 2020, do you feel like going back to the interview, you could have asked some better questions?
No red flags. I was surprised that it happened. He was doing really well. I was surprised that it happened, but to me, it was an immediate, nah, we can't be doing this.
That's tough.
And it's for some other, I was talking to Kalani about it today. For some other people, it may not be that big of a deal, but I know for the culture I want to build, and I am so protective over culture after everything that we've grown and everything else. That is the heartbeat. That is what dictates whether or not you hate your life or not as a business owner, is how good the culture is. And so if you don't think it aligns, especially at the ground level as you want to build it, bro, you might as well go through the ramp up again, find the right fit, and then keep it going. That was my mentality on it.
Well, so what's the fallout right now of making these 2 decisions? You're on the phone? You're closing deals now?
Yeah. I mean, but I was still on the phones with them. I mean, we got a fuck ton of leads.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna be hard to go. You're getting them nationwide, so you've got to be getting flooded with stuff. Are you even able to get to all of them each day?
Yes.
That's good.
So like right now, bro, we have 100 leads we can't get a hold of. Like, so we have 100. We have 50 people in 7 days of hell. We have about 46 people in no contact, and then we have a bunch of people in due diligence who will get offers after this. That's what that looks like. And essentially their job is like, hey, you're going to have a bunch of leads coming at night, a couple leads come in during the day. Besides that, you're just calling through your 7 days of hell, your new leads for the day, and the no contacts. Because I converted a lead on Saturday that had been touched 29 times. It's a triplex in Chicago that we locked up for $100,000 that we could sell at $200,000. But 29 times until that person converted.
And what period of time you said?
I'll tell you right now. That is, so one of them only 5 touch points, 7 touch points, 7 touch points, 7 touch points, 6 touch points, 13 touch points, 15 touch points.
The one at 29 though, over what period of
39.
time?
Sorry, he was in our pipeline for 11 days. There had been 39 phone calls, 5 text messages, and probably 10 emails that had been sent to him.
I mean, that's over 3 contacts a day.
That's pretty
good.
Oh, yeah, like everybody, our 7 days of hell, they get harassed.
Yeah.
So just to give you an example of like what it looks like as a rep, because a lot of people think like sales is like this big sexy thing. A lot of it, bro, we're calling into nothingness for a while unless a new lead comes in. Because once your follow-up comes in and a new lead comes in, now we're just calling in trying to like revive whatever leads we have to get these things to convert some more. Because like we're still paying for them.
Speaking of hell, I'm going to give you hell when you come do golf cart chats in San Diego because you keep calling me Sleepy Dean. I freaking got up at 3:45 a.m. yesterday in New York, made a flight to San Diego, got here, did a workout. First time I did a workout in 30
But
days.
you didn't
after
run a
getting
hill,
back
huh?
from
Because
Europe.
you were scared.
And
Because you lost all
today,
your mental fortitude.
Tuesday, one day after, guess what I did? Ran hills. I ran hills today in spite of you, so I could come on here and talk shit. And I'm gonna make your ass run hills when you're here.
Whatever, bro. Whatever. You don't know what you're talking about.
You're not gonna be able to talk when you're done running those hills.
Anything else you guys want to cover on the problem? I think it was a solid problem.
Go ahead.
Like, these are real things that happen in business.
Yeah, that's real life, everyday stuff, like working through real business. I mean, you can cover any industry, and having employees, having the right training, having the right culture. I think we overlook that stuff and we forget about it because we're too worried about the deal or something else. That is the stuff that makes a business and makes it successful.
Yeah.
If you don't have those type of ingredients, you go read the books, which I will admit I'm not a big book reader, and I know Strat, you're a very big book reader. Jason, you read too. Like if you go read the books and or learn about the books that are teaching about the big companies, how they got big, it is all about the fundamentals around those type of things. So I think the fact that you're focusing on them as you're going through the challenge is really cool to hear the feedback about it. And I think is helpful for people to learn as you're literally working through it live. So that's pretty cool.
Thank you. All right. Do you guys have any problems, or should we move on to the next one?
I'll share a quick problem. So I had two problems that I woke up to this morning. Okay. And the one I'll share for later, right? God willing, it all goes well and we close the deal. It's all done. The other problem was a lingering problem from the past. Okay. So 3 years ago, we had a deal with Mike Butler that he brought to us. Our team got on the phone with the seller and locked up these two houses from this one seller. Okay. We were right at the closing table.
Is this the one in Hanford?
It's not in Hanford. It's in Tulare. Right at the closing table. And to spare you all the details, he decided he was unable to move forward. Now, this is one of those situations where he wasn't looking to sell to someone else, but still, it just didn't feel right the way he did it. And so we ended up putting a memorandum. We didn't put a list pendants. We put a memorandum on both the properties and recorded those at Tulare County. So we secured our interest in it, and in order for him to sell, and we let him know at the time, despite the fact that he forgot, we let him know at the time we were going to put those in place. So when he was ready to sell, we could move forward at the agreed upon price. Okay. So that was the only, legal grounds that we had to secure our interest in the properties. Well, 2 years later, he decides he wants and needs to sell one of the houses, and the one house he wanted and needed to sell, the numbers didn't make sense for us to buy. Okay. So we were trying to understand what was going on. And at the time we had made the decision, hey, look, we had an agreement. We want to continue moving forward. So what should we do here? The communication kind of fell off and didn't quite get handled the way. And that's why the problem happened. The communication from someone on my team did not get handled the right way as I would have handled it. So because of a lack of communication, that's when FUD happens: fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And the seller had all three of those and ended up getting an attorney involved. Now, this attorney is a bit of an ambulance chaser, follows around people who, raise the flag and say, I have this problem, and kind of play the victim card. And he plays that card right out in front and says, hey, I'm going to call the news if you don't take care of this. Just not shy about it, just says it. So I'm like, look, we're going to go ahead and release this. We don't want to deal with these problems. It's not worth it. So I sign off documents saying we released the liens. Okay. Wasn't worth the hassle. The paperwork apparently didn't get handled the right way by the attorneys. The wording wasn't done the right way. So now the issue has surfaced again as he's trying to sell that one house that we didn't want to move forward with and decided to pass on. And as a result of the frustration of it not getting resolved like it should have, he filed a complaint with the Better Business Bureau. So I woke up
Ooh.
this morning to a submission at 2:58 a.m. to the Better Business Bureau, and was not happy about it, and had to get on the phone directly with the seller. I called him. He gave his number. I called him directly, and we had a 32-minute conversation exactly about everything, and we're on perfectly good terms. He had total peace of mind, resolved the issue. This should have been resolved a year ago, right? It shouldn't have been something I had to deal with. It should have been communicated and done better. So I signed some paperwork today. I reached out to the attorney. Give me the right paperwork. I'll sign it. I notarized it, FedExed it right at lunchtime. It's done. And the lesson is, like, doesn't matter how many deals we're doing, how much money we're making, what is going on. Communication has to be handled the right way. No matter if it's a deal we're going to make $1 on, or a deal we're making $100,000 on, or if a deal goes the wrong way, communication has to happen appropriately. Otherwise, issues come up.
Whose fault was it that the paperwork didn't get filed the right way a year ago? The attorney, or you guys filed it and just filed it?
His
The
attorney,
attorney-
So his attorney filed it wrong a year ago.
who fucking came after
Then-
you.
Yeah.
The guy tried to sell it a year later, and he's blaming you, not his guy.
The seller was so frustrated because
should
this
call the BBB.
communication. Oh, it's going to get removed. It's going to get removed. It's not
No,
going
we
to be
need to
an
call
issue.
the BBB on that attorney.
Oh, I won't be specific about the attorney, but let's just say I know the attorney well. So it's not something I'm interested in doing. I think he's a good person. I don't appreciate the approach, but I understand the opposite position. You know what I mean? So, yeah. So the paperwork was done incorrectly, and so it was released at the county, but the escrow company wouldn't recognize it as legitimate because it wasn't done the way it really should have been. So the attorney's communication to the seller was that we were refusing to sign the paperwork, and this was just unraveling in the seller's mind of all the issues and the stress and chaos in his life, not to mention the health issues he was having. So he just didn't feel like there was anything else to do but file a complaint, and that's what he did.
Well, that's a bitch. That's a solid problem. I think the one thing that I thought at the beginning is that all of my problems would go away when I would be successful. And then I have learned that problems just get bigger and bigger, and you need to become a man who can solve all of the problems, or at least handle the burden of these problems coming in, and having stoicism in your life to just move forward. It is what it is, and we keep going.
Bro,
Yeah,
your
I had to
problems
take-
only get more complex and harder to solve,
The more money you
emotionally
make.
charged as you make more money
Yeah.
and become more successful. That's it.
I had to
It doesn't
hype
go-
myself
It doesn't
up.
become easier; it becomes harder, dude.
I had to hype myself up for both of these really tough conversations that I had to have this morning, because I built the business to where I don't have to be having these tough conversations really as often as I used to. I used to have them daily, right? And so I will admit I've gotten comfortable of not having to have
Sleepy deep.
uncomfortable conversations as much, taking naps
What?
regularly. No, I'm joking. So I had to hype myself up, but I will say, based on the skills that I've developed in the moment that I needed to perform, that I did it, as well as I think you could have. And we talked about it yesterday on our call that we had about one of the problems, and that was helpful. That was helpful for us to talk through it and to get feedback and input from other people to know how do we work through it.
Here's a problem. I'll share my problem before I have to jump off, because I'm going to this meeting to actually solve this problem right now. So this is an interesting one. Okay. Bought a property on 5 acres in Fresno in January of 2021. I just looked up the purchase date, paid 300 grand for it. It's 5 acres. There's 2 houses on one lot, main house in the back. Okay. We spent 200 grand fixing everything up because the place was a disaster. Okay. We listed it a year later for $800,000. So I thought we were going to make this monster rip, dude. Like I thought it was going to be like, probably at that time, it would have been our biggest deal ever. I was literally thinking we're going to make like 200 grand off this deal. We're in escrow 3 times on this property. First one falls out because of something. Second one, we have an appraiser go out there. He looks at the back house and he goes, dude, ceilings are really low in this house, and I don't think it meets appraisal standards. And I was like, what does that even mean, dude? I don't even know what you're talking about. And he goes, well, the standards for a house to meet like whatever the appraisal standards are in order for the house to qualify for a loan is the ceiling height on average has to be at least 7 feet around the entire property. Okay. And he went, measured all these different places, and it was under 7 feet. Okay. Cancel escrow again, put it back on the market, drop $50,000, go in escrow a third time, same exact situation. Okay. Now we pull this property. Okay. And we have to go on the back house, which, mind you, we've already remodeled both of these properties, 200 grand into the remodel. Okay. Both of the properties, plus all a bunch of work on the site. We have to rip the fucking top of the roof off of this property that we have now. Rip off the roof, rip off all the framing, raise the roof on the second property to be able to meet the appraisal standards.
Jeez.
Okay. That's so here. So we hire an architect, okay, who says, yeah, dude, with all the new ADU laws in California, this is perfect. It's going to get grandfathered in. I'm in there like this with the county, dude. I know so-and-so at Fresno County. We're going to get this done. We spend 18 months going back and forth with the county just to say that the county says you don't qualify for these new ADU laws. We're going to have to survey all your neighbors in the area, ask them if it's okay for you to do that, then we'll approve it. So we wasted $14,000, 18 months going through this process, fighting back and forth. Now, fast forward, we're now 3.5 years into this. We had to pay all of our private lenders off. So we owner financed with the seller for a year. I had to pay them 300 grand. We're in this house, $450,000 of my cash, bro. Like my actual cash is tied into this property. And now I'm going to a meeting right now to figure out, finally, it sounds like they've done all the surveys of all the neighbors and all the shit. Everybody's approved it. Now we're ready to sit down with the contractor, the architect, all of this stuff. And we went from thinking in a year, I was like, dude, I did this deal. We seller financed it. I put like 5% down. I raised the money to do all the other work, this, that, and the other thing. I'm going to make 200 grand. Fast forward 3.5 years later, dude, $500,000 of my cash is tied up in this property. And we've just been sitting here getting our nuts kicked in, break-ins constantly nonstop. Now we're going to go spend God knows how much money to rip the roof off of the back house that's fully redone and then build a whole new roof and then try to sell it again, dude. So
you think you guys will make any money?
Yeah.
I don't even give two shit. I just want to be done with
my
this,
money
bro.
back.
I don't care how much money we make. I don't care. I just want to be done with this whole house, bro. I just want my money back, and I never want to see this house again in my life. So whatever can facilitate how to get there again. Yeah, dude. It's so you learn all these things, dude. We talk about this stuff all the time. Like, you don't know what you don't know in this business. I had probably flipped 200 houses before this point. So it wasn't like I was like some novice, didn't know what the hell I was doing. But if you had asked me back in 2021, whether I knew that the appraisal standards for a house, the ceiling height has to be on average 7 feet, I wouldn't have known. And now, guess what? Every single time we walk a property and it feels like the ceiling height is like, get the tape measure out. Let's measure it, dude, because I'm not dealing with this, or otherwise we know it's going to have to happen, dude. It was just a humongous kick in the nuts, dude. And to have that much cash tied up, emotional roller coaster swing. We're getting break-ins all the time. I mean, it's just a freaking disaster, bro. So I'm heading into that meeting literally right now.
Good luck, dude.
Oh yeah, good luck. Dino, you want to do one more?
I'll see you guys later.
See you,
yeah, we'll do one more.
You want to do one more? Man. All right, which one do we want to save for the Master of Hair next week? Let me see. I mean, bro, the problems of the week. I feel like
dude, how do I get my title back? How do I get Captain America back?
Bro,
how do I
have
get in good graces with Stratton? You put me in the doghouse.
I have not waste 20 minutes of our time, Dean. But by being respectful of mine and Jason's time.
I feel terrible about it. I really do.
I mean, I don't think you deserve. Would Captain America be 20 minutes late? No.
If he was saving somebody, I think he would. Yeah.
He actually wouldn't, because he'd save the person and still be on time.
He'd save someone sooner.
He actually wouldn't. There's not a doubt in my mind that motherfucker would save him and get it taken care of.
Fair enough.
All right. Okay. What do we have? All right. I think this one's good for us. Do you think being fit and healthy actually helps you make more money?
So I want to play devil's advocate to start, which is I've seen lots of unhealthy people be successful.
I've seen lots of them, bro. I've seen lots.
I find interesting. I find very interesting. And I'm trying to figure out how. I mean, there's got to be obviously, Jeff's just commented on my IG. I know a lot of rich fat guys. I definitely do too. And they almost, when they have a certain look and fat, you almost know they're rich. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of interesting. But I think
the Tommy Bahama shirt.
Wearing the Tommy Bahama
shirt. Wearing
the
Tommy Bahama shirt, bro.
Yeah.
Like, that's like, whenever you think of a rich old dude, he's got flip-flops, a Tommy Bahama shirt, and he's like walking around. He's got a pot gut.
Yeah.
You know,
pot gut. He's got his khaki shorts on with a belt. He's got some sort of a button up. It's not usually a regular shirt, some sort of button up or a collared shirt, and just the gut is popping. The rest of the body looks normal, but the gut is just popping. I find that interesting because I think to get to a point where you've made substantial amounts of money and become wealthy, you have to have discipline, right? You have to have skills that got you to that point. And you have to do them consistently enough to get the results that you're looking for. So it's interesting because I feel like the two go hand in hand. Like, if I am fit and healthy and taking care of myself and being disciplined, that I have the fundamentals to allow me to apply being success, like applying the consistency I need to improving myself and my skills to put myself in the position to be successful when it comes to business. So I feel like that has been the case for me. We'll say here over and over and over again, we're not the smartest guys. And I'll speak for myself. I'm not the smartest guy. What I'm willing to do is work hard consistently and be curious enough and care enough about the success of myself and the people that I'm around and us all winning together, that I'm willing to put in the work to get the results that are needed. And so that's it. And I think from sports, my background in sports, I had to be extremely disciplined. I had to say no to the things that were maybe fun, or eating the things that I shouldn't, or going out and partying and drinking and staying out late. I had to say no to those things so that I could perform and be in the position to be successful with sports. So I do the same in my life now because those are just so ingrained with me, and it aligns with my core values, my morals, my ethics, like doing the right thing, being a good person, being Captain America, except
Sleepy
for
Joe, being Sleepy Dean Rogers. So I think, again, we're talking to a lot of regular people. Odds are you are very average and you are not like the rich fat person. And odds are you probably need an extra boost from feeling good all the time from your actual fitness that'll help you put more out in your output, right? The reason I want to be fit and in shape is so I can feel better all day, so I can work more. And so I can live longer for my kids. But these rich, fat people, odds are they have a ton of output. And they probably have a little bit more horsepower than you. I'd say you do yourself no good by thinking people are dumber than you. Just assume that they're smarter than you and they're working harder than you. So you need to be able to solve for that. So if they're working harder than you, how can you make yourself feel better so you can like get some more out of your day? That's what fitness does for me. When I'm feeling good, eating good, I can get more out of my day over time. But if we look up like Fortune 500 CEOs and like the most successful people. Elon Musk looks like he has a fucking barrel in his stomach, right? Like Zuckerberg, I guess Zuck's in pretty good shape. Like there's all these people who aren't necessarily in shape, but I think now one of the reasons we have money, and I want money, and we talk about this, is so I can just live longer.
Yeah.
I want to pay for the peptides, the stem cells, the private chefs, right? Like all these things that go into making my health better so I can live longer. And I think now that studies have come out to show like, hey, you just gotta, if you're out of shape, you're really gonna die early. There's no need to be like this, blah, blah, blah. You can do this. But the people who are fat, who are rich, I would say it's because probably their focus is just on the business. And I'd say a lot of people, when they're just getting into business, you do not understand the amount of stress that comes with it. And people cope with things in very different ways.
That's a really good point.
I fucking stress eat. And so that's why I like to do 75 hard, because it stops me from eating my fucking brains out when I'm stressed. Like, because I try not to drink when I'm stressed because it's not a good coping mechanism, but I will eat. And so that's one thing like nobody really thinks about. Like, and exercise becomes a really good coping mechanism for you. Because it's so, bro, especially these dudes who are older. And if you're running a company that's doing a couple $1 million to like $10 million, the types of problems that are coming at you every day and the types of issues, and like generally most companies, I was listening to a pod, I saw it on the School of Hard Knocks. A dude is like, we did 9 million. I netted 3 million. I still owed the government $900,000 in taxes because all of my money was still in the business. Ooh. That is like a very real everyday thing when it comes to working capital.
Yeah.
That will stress you the fuck out.
For sure.
I think that has a lot to do with it. Like, okay, you're stress eating. You don't know how to cope with it. Because no matter even how much exercise you do, that shit's still coming and it's stressful. So I think a lot of those roles play into it. The reason most people exercise now is to mitigate the stress, to cope better, and then to get more out of themselves every day. So you don't have that 2 o'clock crash. I know I had like a rant, but I feel like it was fire, honestly.
It was good. You made some really good points. I think the stress thing is a huge, huge point that I didn't even think about. But as soon as you said it, there's no doubt being a business owner or being a high performer, being in like a pressure cooker type role, like a sales role at a high performer at a big company, there's a tremendous amount of pressure, and stress eating is without a doubt an easy coping mechanism for a lot of people. So I think that's a solid one. The drinking is definitely, for some people, whether it's good or not, is a coping mechanism. I mean, I've been at the corporate events and those people drink like fish, dude. I mean, they just throw it back. So that's definitely another one. I think the big thing is working out for me, like you said. I don't feel like myself if I'm not working out. I feel terrible. My energy like isn't regulated. My body just feels all out of whack. It just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel good. My muscles start to feel like they're atrophied. Like it doesn't feel good. So for me, it's about the feel good. It's about like stabilizing, all the chemicals in my brain, and feeling like myself. So, I think it's critical for me. If I wasn't allowed to work out, okay, God forbid, and knock on wood, hopefully it doesn't happen. If I ever were to get an injury that prevented me from working out, that would be terrible. I'd be heartbroken. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Yeah, I think if you are in business, there's no downsides to you working out. You could say, oh, I don't have enough time in the day, but then I'd tell you to take your meetings while you're walking. And I've started to do a lot of that. Like if I am
a good one. I've done that too. And I have to like force myself out of the office to do that.
Yeah.
And you can't do it for every meeting, but dude, when I do that, just being able to walk, I mean, it's so good for your body. It's good for your mind. It's good for your stress. Like you said, being a business owner is stressful. Just getting out and being outside and walking is so good. So that's a good one too.
Yeah. And like, especially when I need to go get my blood work done, and you really like find out like what can have you like firing on all cylinders. Cause when you eat like shit, your brain doesn't operate very well either.
Yeah.
And I mean, so my son has ADD, and there is a drastic difference between when we let that kid have sugar and when we do not.
Yeah.
Things do not go well in school when the kid eats sugar. But when his diet is clean, he can function so much more, and he feels like he has more control. He can think more clearly. The same thing goes for adults. If you're an entrepreneur, odds are you have ADD. You're just one of us. Like we're everywhere, off the walls. We're doing all this and that. And so the more you can actually lend to yourself to give you every tool in your tool belt to win, the better.
Yeah, I think we talked about being healthy and fit. We talked about more so the working out part, but the diet is just as big, if not bigger. Yeah, I mean, food is a drug, so if you're eating the right stuff, you're fueling your body the right way. And if you're not, I mean, you're literally poisoning yourself and throwing your body out of whack. So I think that's a huge one too.
Oh yeah. All right. Do you have any parting words for the people? Do you know, Mr. Sleepy Dean, Mr. 30 minutes late 2 times in a month?
Man, you increased the time on me too. I guess parting
20 minutes late. Sorry, 20 minutes late.
Parting words for the people. Man, I would say, look, we talked about a couple different topics today, and several of them came back to problems in the business. If you feel like money is going to solve all your problems, money might bring more problems. I think the person that you become as you are, becoming a business owner, growing into a business owner, developing into a business owner, I think the person that you become is one of the most valuable things. And that person that you do become is someone that is able to handle those situations, those problems that come with it. And naturally, if you're doing the right thing and taking the right precautionary steps to mitigate risk and problems, because there's problems everywhere in anything that you do in life, becoming a problem solver is ultimately usually one of the things that creates opportunities for you to make a living and to become successful. On Shark Tank, you hear them talk about, find what the problem is or what is a big problem. And usually when you solve a big problem, you get big paydays, right? Big outcome, big amount of money you can make. So it's no different. And I think welcoming those on today, I had to hype myself up for 2 problems that I had to take on. It was uncomfortable, but I knew I had to do it. And I'm glad that I did it because it just reinforced the fact that, look, if I want to have the success that I want to have, and if I want to reach new levels, I have to embrace the discomfort. And so it just was a great reminder today. It was a day after coming off a 30-day Europe trip and taking a super early flight, changing, several different time zones and doing like a time warp. It was like I was time traveling. So having to overcome all that. But yeah, I'd say, look, if you're the easy route is punching in and punching out. But with that comes problems too. And the problems are, in my opinion, bigger if you're clocking in and clocking out.
They're much harder to solve.
With more money, there might be more problems that you have to overcome and solve. But with more money gives you more opportunities. It gives you the opportunity to solve those problems easier and make things more convenient for yourself. So I'd much rather choose the alternative.
I love it, bro. Thank you, Sleepy Dean, for showing up to today's pod.
We're gonna shake that. We're gonna shake that title.
I mean, you have to do something new to inspire a new nickname, because Captain America came out of nowhere because there was a trend I saw in the way you acted. And then Sleepy Dean came out of nowhere because I recognized the trend in the way that you acted.
It happened 2 times. It happened 2 times.
It was a trend. And so now we have to wait.
What defines a trend? Is it more than 2 times?
I
don't feel like it can be official.
I don't know. They just come to me. The trends come to me. I identify that. I don't know where they come from. I just observe.
I'll get it back.
Hopefully you'll get it back. We'll see. Well, you know what? Me and Jason will put it out, and we'll see what does Dean have to do to lose the name Sleepy Dean.
There we go.
We'll let the people decide what Dean has to do to lose the name Sleepy Dean. We'll let the fans of the pod decide.
Okay.
But thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will talk to you next week. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Peace.
Peace.